Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's Katie here, and if you look behind me, you'll see a couple things different about our house. This weekend, Keaton and I put up a few of our Christmas decorations, and so on our piano is a lovely nativity set that was gifted to us by Keaton's grandparents, and then his dad and one of his grandpas actually built the barn that it's all set in, which is just so lovely to have here. It all made it to New Zealand in our shipping container without anything breaking, which is absolutely wonderful. And then we have our little baby stockings. We need to get bigger ones. But we have our tree up. Our ornaments are not on the tree yet because we ran out of time, mostly because I just wanted to snuggle on the couch and watch a Christmas movie after putting it up. But we also have some garland and then these little houses up here as well that we got at Target in the States for maybe $3. So it feels really nice to have some things up and out for the holidays. Obviously, Thanksgiving isn't a holiday here in New Zealand, and so I don't really feel bad turning on Christmas music, watching Christmas movies, and getting all of our holiday decor out because there's no Thanksgiving in the middle of Halloween and Christmas. So here I am celebrating Christmas in November. I'm happy about it. No one judge me. But today, before we get going, I just wanted to share something quick with you guys. The folks at Magic Mind, which is this adorable little drink here, sent me their product to try, and I just want to kind of share the information with you guys. It is a little 2-ounce green drink here. It has matcha, which gives you energy, adaptogens, which helps you relax, nootropics, which keep you focused, and honey, and it says it makes you happy. So it's absolutely adorable. I want it to focus. The art on it is so cute. Say that it is supposed to help you focus and reduce stress and keep your mind nice and clear when you're doing creative things like me creating these videos. I will say that since I've taken it, I normally take my coffee like it's a medicine. When I drink my coffee, I drink this just shortly after. And I will say, normally I have another coffee in the afternoon while I'm at work, and I've been taking Magic Mind every day for about a week, and I have skipped my afternoon coffee because I think I feel more energized, and I don't feel the need to drink an extra coffee. They are kind enough to give you a 20% discount if you use the link in the description below. I don't get anything from it, so please don't think that I'm like trying to get anything out of you. Definitely not. But if you, are a creative person and you want to give something new a try, you're tired of drinking coffee all the time, I definitely suggest it. It doesn't ever hurt to try. So Magic Mind, the link will be in the description below if you want to give it a try. All right, what you're all here for now. Today I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of moving to New Zealand. We've nearly been here 6 months, and so these are just a couple of things that we have felt since we've moved here. And of course, everybody else is going to have different pros and cons and what they think is a pro and what they think is a con. So if your opinion differs from me, this is just my opinion that I'm sharing. So we'll kind of go back and forth, and maybe a couple of them will relate to each other. But con number one, obviously, moving away from your family is really hard. It's just Keaton and I here, and so I'm very grateful to have him, and I would not have been able to move to another country alone. Very grateful to have him, but also it's hard to be so far away from family and your friends. We can't just, hey, do you want to go get lunch or dinner, or hey, I'll be at your house in 2 hours. That's not a luxury that we have anymore. So it's just you have to be more focused and put more effort into, calling home or getting voice chat or getting a messaging app or anything like that to stay in touch. So that's definitely a con. But a pro to that side of things is it's a really cool place for people to visit. So my last video was my best friend and her sister had just come to visit us, and we saved so much money because they just stayed with us in our house. We stayed a couple of nights in an Airbnb in Lake Tekapo, but other than that, I mean, the amount that they saved and we saved if we had gone on vacation with them by just staying in our house was a lot of money. So always a cool place for people to visit. A con very specific to Keaton and I, we moved to New Zealand in June, and so we were just kind of coming out of winter, going into spring-ish summer in the States. And then we moved to New Zealand and it was winter. And so we have essentially lived all of 2022 in winter. It's starting to turn spring, almost summer in New Zealand now. And like even getting a hint of sunshine is so great. So that's a con specific to us. Another con I'll say is that produce is pretty expensive. I went to the grocery store this morning and I wanted to get like blueberries and strawberries and things to put on yogurt and smoothies and whatnot, and like a little tiny square of blueberries was like $6, and I just like looked at it and I was so sad because I didn't buy them. And then I went and saw strawberries and there was like just a little container of strawberries and it was like $6.50, and I was like, I'm not gonna buy them. So I have frozen strawberries, but sometimes you just want the fresh fruit, and sometimes I can't get myself to buy it because I just think it's a little expensive. And that's something that we knew coming here, was that if you are buying like fruits or vegetables out of season, they are not the most cost effective to buy, which I actually kind of put into a pro. So when I, take everything that's negative and put it into a positive, now when I go to the grocery store, I'm much more conscious of what I am buying. So I think in the States, I used to go to the store and be like, oh, that looks good, that looks good, that looks good. And it was all pretty cheap. Because honestly, I would just get my groceries at Walmart. But here we can't do that because things are more expensive. We have to pick and choose what we're eating and be smart about it. And so honestly, I waste a lot less food because I'm not just like picking and grabbing whatever. So I say that's a pro of me being more conscious of what I am choosing to buy at the grocery store. Another con, New Zealand is quite isolated. So we are out here on our own little islands, North and South Island, but with the closest place to fly, I guess, or easiest maybe. I don't know if any of those words would be correct to use, but Australia is right there. But otherwise, if we, want to go back home to the States, it's at least like a 24-hour travel day. The plane ride's like maybe 14 hours, but the whole travel day as a whole is quite long. If we were to go to like Europe or the UK, that plane ride is insanely long. And so it's just not as easy to, hop on a plane and travel somewhere else. Another con is that it is quite expensive. One of my good friends is getting married next September, and so we are planning a trip back to the States next September for her wedding, to celebrate her. I can't wait. Oh, I'm so excited for that. But looking at flights even back to America, like obviously we booked a one-way trip the first time around and it was still pretty expensive, but like looking at a return trip, we're like, all right, let's get saving. It's expensive. But I think when we choose to go on trips, we will try and go for at least 2 weeks to make sure we are getting the most out of the money that we're spending on the travel, if that makes sense. We would hate to spend I don't know, a couple of thousands of dollars and then be somewhere for like 4 days. That just seems so silly. So we will plan our trips and be somewhere for like, say, at least 2 weeks. And then it makes more sense to spend all that money on the plane ticket. But that being said, there's so much to travel within New Zealand itself. If you watched my last video, we went to so many different places in the South Island in 10 days, and most of them were like 2-hour car rides away. And I mean, we did multiple of them over the span of a couple of days of like going to one place, driving another 2 hours, going to another place kind of a thing. But we also did it where we traveled 2 hours in the morning, spent the whole day doing whatever we wanted, and then drove 2 hours home that night. There's just so much to do in New Zealand. And so, yes, we're isolated from the rest of the world, and the rest of the world might be hard to travel to, but there's so much to do within New Zealand that you can keep yourself pretty occupied. But for Keaton and I, who love to travel and explore, we definitely will be prioritizing big trips just in a smarter way. Taking a drink. A pro of it also being isolated is that we're not subjected to the news 24/7, or at least maybe that's a personal choice for me. I feel like in America, there was a constant news cycle of whether it was on my phone, I was getting alerts on my phone, or like I was watching the news constantly. I just would get so overwhelmed with everything that was happening in the world and feeling like, how can I help and what can I do? And just an immense guilt sometimes of like what's happening in the world. And here we don't even have cable. We just have like streaming platforms. And while there is sometimes still that guilt of, obviously I want to be informed. I want to know what's going on around the world. Sometimes I feel bad when I see or when I hear stories of my friends in America and what's going on and everything that they're seeing every day. It like hurts my heart a little bit that I'm like not there to help, but also like for my brain and for like my own heart, it's so healthy to not see the constant chaos that's sometimes going around in the US. And I would always try and shut it off in the States, and it would still just come back up. So I am actually kind of grateful that we're a bit isolated from things, and it's not a constant news cycle of all of these terrible things happening. I listen to the radio here, like on my way to work and whatnot, and they're usually like talking about funny things or jokes, or people are calling in. Like, it's weird to listen to radio and have it be like truly like music and like talking about everyday things in New Zealand and funny things and people calling in, and not like this and this and this and this and this happened today all across America, and this is what you need to know, and this is what's fighting, and this is all that stuff. So it's just like nice to be detached from it. I will say that comes from a place of privilege, that I do not necessarily have to consume it if I don't want to, and I completely acknowledge that. But it has been really nice to not be overwhelmed and all consumed by media anymore. Another pro of New Zealand is the slower pace of life. I feel like in the States, it was a lot of like hustle culture, get things done, do it right away. If I send you an email, you need to reply to me within like 2 hours, like all of these things. And here it's just kind of like, take a breath. Like, things will get done, people will manage, and it's not the end of the world if you don't reply back to someone within 2 hours, kind of a thing. So it's just nice. Cons to that, I like took my car in because my engine light was on, and I dropped it off at 7:30 in the morning and hadn't gotten a call until, and then it hit like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna call the dealership and see if they have even like looked at my car, see what's wrong, see if I need Keaton to come pick me up from work, all that jazz. And I called them and they were like, oh yeah, we haven't even looked at your car yet. And I was like, okay, are you going to? He was like, oh, I guess we can look at it next. Like, it was just a very like laid back, like, yeah, I guess you need your car back. But for me, like if I had taken it in the States, I would have waited for it there to get done, and they would have, been back to me within probably a couple of hours, because that's just kind of the pace of the States, I feel like. But yeah, I just had to give them a call and be like, hey, what's going on? And then they looked at it. Also, I then went and picked up my car, and then I got a call, and the guy was like, is your car still here? I was like, no, I went and picked it up. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, what if somebody else tried to pick up my car and you just weren't keeping track of it? But that's a story for another day. I have my car, it's fine. The tire sensors are now on, but my issues with tires, if you've watched any of my last videos, they just don't like me. They're full of the amount of air that they are supposed to be. So I'm just gonna leave it until we see what happens. Probably not the best way to do it, but that's where I'm at. And then to kind of go along with the slower pace of life, I am definitely less stressed, and I think it's a combination of all of those things that I said before. Not being, subjected to the news 24/7. There is a slower pace of life. I have a very different job. I was an accountant in the States, and now I work at a gym. So obviously that's not really comparable, and that has a huge part of why I am so much less stressed. But it's nice because I feel like moving here, I had the ability to just work at a gym, where if in the States, if I was like unhappy in my job or whatever, I still sometimes feel guilty for just working at a gym. But in the States, I know that I wouldn't have been able to make that choice because outside pressures and everything under the sun. And once again, that's probably another story for another day. But yeah, I would say that Keaton and I are definitely less stressed. We can just go to the beach in 10 minutes and like lay on the beach, and then instantly like all of your stress just melts away, which is really nice. So yeah, I just wanted to share. It's not quite 6 months, so I'll have to do another video when we do actually hit 6 months of being here, and then maybe our decor and ornaments will be on the tree by then. But I just wanted to share a little bit of some pros and cons if you are considering New Zealand, or if you just kind of want to know what's going on here and how things are different and whatnot. And once again, just to bring back up, if you want to give Magic Mind a try, I definitely suggest just clicking on the link down in the description, and you can read a little bit more about it for yourself. But I actually just took one of them, took the little shot of the green juice, Magic Mind, before sitting down to record this, and I can already feel myself in a good groove of okay, I'm gonna edit this and send it off, and it's gonna be great. Well, thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.